by the time we know who we are, where we are coming from, the way that we present ourselves in the world become completely different.
Those of us in the African diaspora, travel can be something far deeper, a sacred act of remembering. In my work as an ancestral lineage healing practitioner, grounded in Yoruba spirituality, I often remind people you cannot truly reclaim your voice, your purpose, your wholeness without remembering your roots.
I cannot even imagine that I will have a child and I'll be able to explain that we were called alien, or even the word slaves are still being used on people today.
I know when you say shrine, and people say, oh, is it not devil that is there in the shrine? No, it is not devil. It is your ancestors that are there. If you say your ancestors are devil, well, okay, I have nothing to, I don't know what I can say to you.
When your feet touch that soil, even if you were born oceans away, something stirs, goosebumps, tears, a feeling of home without explanation. And travel can be the beginning of a homecoming to the land.
Rediscovery through travel. It can be a personal topic for persons who have left their homeland and have become strangers in another homeland. In some countries we are called aliens, which is really the country that I'm in right now. But I think that's the point. I think it has become a very sacred tool for me personally, simply because when you understand travel, especially when you are able to, but because of some constraints you are not able to, it becomes a sacred tool for you. So when you embark on travel, it is not just bringing back parts of you that you long for or have missed, but it actually ratifies and fortifies in your spirit a belonging where you really belong, that can become very healing and soothing. And it also allows you to relinquish those aspects of you that became missing and created a sadness in you that you, or an itch or an ache that you are not able to describe, because you're managing where you are, you have accepted the things you can't change and so on. But the reconciliation and the reclaiming of who you are and those who are a part of you can be very empowering. And so when you return or you travel, because travel means that you go from one point to the next. It can also be that you do it over and over and that you reach routine. You can do it for pleasure, you can do it for escape, enjoyment, whatever it is. But when it comes to the diaspora, I want to make the point that it is not just for fun. It's not just traveling for the sake of it. It's not just being able to pet yourself, nurture yourself. It's not so much self-care, but it's really a soul care. It's a mental empowerment. It is a bonding. It is a renewal. It is a reconnecting that we call reclaiming your identity, reclaiming your power, and reclaiming your strength. Because the healing side of it, more effective than other, is that whatever challenges you're going through or whatever obstacles or hindrances or encumbrances you feel that you might have, this merging and this meeting through travel with those who are a part of you by bloodline, by culture, by heritage, and by the spiritual connection gives you an empowerment that transports you into becoming an overcomer before you actually attempt to overcome. It fills you in such a way that when you travel back to where you are now going, invisible wounds are really healed and your mindset is actually transformed to a place of resilience, of renewed strength. Now there's this deep sense of togetherness that doesn't make the longing and the separation be so emotional and devastating. You are pulled back. You are now able to reconstruct where you are and how that can lift you and build you and envelop you so that you now become a reclaim of what is your superpower, because your superpower is that connection, that generational heritage, that fact that you have a support system, that idea that you have persons who unconditionally love you and will accept you, and that idea that you have people rooting for you is your superpower. And so that travel also reconnects you to your heritage and your community. And in that community, you cannot be an alien, you cannot be exiled, you cannot be different, because you not only look like and sound like these people that you are now returning to, but your love has no color. And the language of love is explanatory without having to use words, in the little hugs and the sighs, in the little stories that they are telling you, the remembrance that they bring to you, the good things and the things that we took for granted, the long time that you have not even tasted of this particular thing. And here it is that everybody is making an effort because of the longing and the missing. So it kind of gives you a new leash on life and a new beginning, and pulls you back to yourself, self-awareness and understanding of who you are and why you are, and makes you move more confidently and stand much taller, regardless of the struggle and where it's going to take you back to. And that upliftment of mind and spirit and that holistic healing becomes the foundation on which you rest and can challenge anything that comes to attack you. And so we can't take that, in my mind, we can't take that lightly. We can't see travel as an exchange and of moving on from one point to the other. We can't see it as just reclaiming a place that we missed or we longed for. We have to see it as a complete turnaround that connects distance, connects back our culture, connects relationships, connects love, connects heritage, connects community, connects rediscovery, connects resilience, and connects our roots. And so we know who we are. And that is so important. And we know where we are coming from, and we value where we are coming from. And we are no longer afraid of, because where we are coming from, the appreciation that it has prepared us to where we are going becomes more prominent because of the travel.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Matsia. That is really beautiful. That is really beautifully well said. I like the idea that by the time we know who we are, where we are coming from, the way that we present ourselves in the world become completely different. Of course, yeah, to travel, we are able to journey, because another word that is going to be very, that we can sometimes use interchangeably now will be journey. Travel, it helps us to know where, it helps us to also position how we want to travel in the world, how we want to, when we journey, when we are, how do we want to perceive ourselves? Because we know we know the son of who you are. You know the daughter of who you are. So the way you present yourself is completely different. You are not just asking that, oh, can they accept me? No, you are accepted. You are part. There is an associate professor that I've interviewed. I've done more than 5 interviews with him. He's from the US, originally from Zimbabwe. And he told me anytime he goes to the lecture to teach the student at the beginning of each semester, he will tell them, as a guest usually will be told in a regular colloquia in the religious circle, you belong. Now that you know that you belong, what do you do with that? Essentially, it's saying that you are qualified. You don't need anybody or any person to validate you, validate the way you are. Now, because you know that, the way that you present yourself in the world is going to be different. That is fundamentally important. All right, so we up the mic to Sister Tinu Ogubadejo, and she's going to. Anyway, I want to leave the room for her. Please talk to us. Lecture us.
Oh my goodness. I like the way you say leave the room for her. Okay. Greetings, everybody. Alafia. Well, this is an interesting topic because at first I was thinking, wow, um, what what does it actually mean to me? How do I interpret it, especially from the lens at which I'll be looking through it? And once I'd given it some thought, I thought to myself, wow, it's really a very important topic. And from a spiritual meaning of travel for the diaspora, when we think of travel, the world often frames it as luxury, escape, or exploration. But for those of us in the African diaspora, travel can be something far deeper, a sacred act of remembering. That's a word that has come up a lot. In Yoruba cosmology, we say "Eniyan lasho mi," which means people are the cloth I wear. We are not separate from those who came before us. Their stories are in our blood. And sometimes when we travel, especially back to ancestral lands, it's not just us walking, it's them returning through us. And there's a kind of rediscovery, a kind of spiritual rebirth with travel. I believe that travel is a spiritual tool, and it's not just a journey outward, but a mirror inward. There's something that happens when your feet touch soil that your ancestors once walked. It stirs your ori, which is your inner knowing, your soul memory. I've seen this over and over again in my work. When someone reconnects with the land, the language, the rhythm of their people, something lost begins to reawaken. I experienced this profoundly when I recently went to Nigeria, my motherland, and I reconnected with the people. I reconnected with language. I reconnected with. I even went into the markets and I took off my shoes and people were saying, mommy, don't do that. So I said, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry. I just want to feel the soil on my feet to reawaken that memory, that reconnection. And since it's been medicine, being in just in the land of my people. I when I breathed in the air, it felt different. I felt there was a rebirth. That's the only word I can use for it. Many of us in the African diaspora, we travel. Travel is not just movement. It's like I said, it's a memory. It's longing. It's the quiet pace of something ancient within us that that knows we belong to more than one place and we have more than one story. And in my work as an ancestral lineage healing practitioner, grounded in Yoruba spirituality, I often remind people you cannot truly reclaim your voice, your purpose, your wholeness without remembering your roots. And sometimes remembering requires us to go back, not just only through ceremony and rituals and things of that nature, but across oceans, borders, landscapes that still carry the footprints of our ancestors. And ancestral healing is the process of remembering what has been fragmented. Many of us carry inherited wounds from displacement, from the tearing apart of families, languages, traditions, even the sound of your own names. But through conscious travel, especially when we return to ancestral lands or spaces of cultural resonance, we activate the medicine of reconnection. That word has come up a lot, reconnection. In Yoruba cosmology, we understand that nothing exists in isolation. Everything is connected through Ashe, the life force that animates all beings, and through our Ori, our divine consciousness. Our journeys, whether physical or spiritual, stir our Ori, awaken unforgotten parts of ourselves, and allow unseen ancestors to walk beside us. So I'll take a breath here and give the microphone over to my sisters.
You see, we are supposed to be doing this. This is what we are supposed to be doing. And it's really, how we know this is how we feel about it, the feeling. This is good for us to be able to be doing this, talking about this thing that we're talking about. So I am really grateful to all of you that is dedicated this time every 14 days to come around here and to share. You see, I don't want us to think this is just ordinary. This is deep. We are helping people to connect. We are helping people to understand that they are important, that their story is important, that their experiences, that the experiences of other people that look like them is important, that we can dedicate a time to reflect on that. You're not just on the surface or some kind of on the footer. You know, what you have, when you write a book, you have the footer, the kind of references. No, you are the main thing. You are the main focus. Our story is the most important thing in our narrative. All right. So we'll pass the mic to Latifat. Then, of course, we are coming to you just now, Matilda. Don't worry. Okay, we have 2M here. All right. Latifat, please go on.
Hi everyone, my name is Latifat, and I think that it's very great to be here today. I feel like this topic is very, very important, particularly with the current landscape that we are living, even right now in the US and in some other places where racism and some other issues are still existing. Um, and I say again that this topic is very important to me because, as you all know, I share on this platform and everywhere I go that I'm originally from Badagry. And just knowing that my ancestors and some other persons, participated in the slave trade era that happened in Badagry. In Badagry, if you don't know, it's a place where human beings were turned into exports. Um, and then they were battered, they were broken, people were chained, just to fuel something that we call an empire that was built on violence, but kind of paraded as civilization, right? And then when we start to look at it, like right now, when we talk about the issue of migration, my question is, why are we now being punished for trying to move when people move to where we were on our own at some point, right? And they moved. There was nobody that was delaying them. There was no border. They moved freely to come and capture our ancestors as slaves. And now you have an issue with people moving now. So it's kind of very political. There's a science behind it, like trying to understand the science of movement, the politics of this, or the politics of movement rather, and just even looking at the issue around colonization and superiority. So, just to kind of dive deep a little bit into this, right? 1 in 8 people worldwide are migrants. If you look at the statistics, the data will tell us what we are dealing with. And you look at migrants around the globe, they contribute to like about, I think, 6.7% of the global GDP. And in the US alone, we're saying that immigrants actually founded 45% of Fortune 500 companies. This was a data that was published by the New American Economy. So it's really more about, are we really like a threat, or are we more of an opportunity to a lot of these countries or those places where we are moving to? Even animals, they move. Not to talk of human beings. Why should certain people make a yardstick for where we should be moving to? Why should anyone dictate that I should not be able to move? This is human nature. I have a right to move. I have a right to move wherever I want to move to. So why should people make a yardstick? Why should one person have a passport that is so powerful than other persons? Like, I just feel like humanity has just been compromised a very long time ago. So today, I'm standing before you all as not just as an immigrant, but as a person that is a migratory being. We have to understand the world that everyone is a migrant. People migrated from their parents' womb to come to this earth. So for people to use words like alien on Africans, on people who have moved across the globe to go to other maybe global north countries and call us aliens, I feel like those words are even derogatory. It's just very, very sad. And that this is what some of their constitution call us. And when they come to Africa or they come to these other countries, we kind of call them our visitors. We embrace them because we don't think that there is a need for us to use some colonized words. Like, it's just so sad that people can use derogatory words on us and we accept it. I can't imagine that at this, like, I cannot even imagine that I would have a child and I'll be able to explain that we were called alien, or even the word slaves are still being used on people today. It is extremely sad. So when I say that this topic is important to me, I have my reasons. Like I was saying, but that is not just my hometown. It's one of the oldest slave ports across, around the West African coast. Our people were forced to move. It wasn't that they wanted to come. So now people are moving freely. We now want to come. Like we want, and when I say we want to come, I am bringing my story with me. I am bringing the fact that I'm from Badagry. I am bringing me with me and my story and my narrative, so that some of the lies that you've been told, we can share, we can reconsider that. Oh my God, I have been lied to, and we can begin to unpack all these colonized mentalities that people are carrying. You know, migration is not really the issue. I think colonization and this racism that's been swelling in the hearts of people, because the way that I've even been seeing even African Americans treat Africans in these countries, it is very pathetic. It's beyond us talking about skin color. For over 200,000 years, humans have always moved. This is not new. It is an ancient thing to move. People always move. Even animals move. When animals consider a threat right now, they always move. This is a threat. We gotta go find a new place. We gotta go find a new abode. So that we're talking about, you know, migration, rediscovery through all the stories. We shouldn't even be talking about, oh my God, I'm scared to be in a country. Oh my God, I don't even think I belong. It's not an issue. It's just that we are still in the systems where certain people and their ancestors, they've dictated how we should be living. There is a might and illusion of superiority in some of these countries that need to be stopped. And that is the power of us carrying our story wherever we go to. By the time that they came to Africa to colonize us, they came with their guns, they came with their ships. Those chains were not made in Africa. They were not made in Africa. They came with those items, They moved into our land. We did not ask them a question. We did not ask them if their visas were stamped. They called it exploration. But today I am calling it what it is. It was trespassing. And this is the time to call for reparation. This is the time to call for the audacity of these people, that they moved to our countries and they came to take us away or take our people away. And now they are now demanding for us to go back. It is very, very, very sad. It is extremely
Thank you
sad.
so much.
And I think that this conversation is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
It was a very passionate presentation by Sister Latifat. I felt it.
All right. Thank you so much. Me too. I felt it.
I thought of the topic and how to contribute. And then I remembered when we went for our field trip. That was my third year in archaeology then. We had a visitor from Germany that decided to join the archaeology field class to somewhere called Obunike in Enugu. So Enugu, Old Anambra. So then when she joined the field trip, I could remember her reaction when she came in contact with some of our excavated artifacts. Then the way she reacted, I didn't read much meaning to it then. But then why am I sharing this experience now is because now that I think about it, I realized that the fact that she was able to travel from Germany back to Nigeria and the feeling she had, it made me realize that travel, or if I can say the journey she made, was kind of a reunion for her. It's resurrected something inside of her at that particular time. So, speaking from what Dr. Marcia said earlier, she said travel is like, it's more than luxury. It's a therapy, and it's something I will hold on to after this podcast, because truly travel is a cultural therapy. For people of African descent, it's we're not just traveling, we are breaking narrative. Just like Latifa said, it's this narrative has been caused by slavery, migration, colonialism. So travel helps to bridge that broken narrative, and it's important. It's very, very important. There's this connection you get from storytelling. There's this connection those at the diaspora get when they share their stories of how they went back to their homelands and the rest. So as a tourism development strategist, the topic touches a lot. Something I didn't know how to really start to talk about it, but now that I've had everybody talk about one or two things, there are a lot of pointers that I picked from it. A whole lot of pointers. And it's something I don't know if this podcast is something that could grow, to a wider audience. Is what we're saying here is something a lot of people need to hear about. It's something a lot of people need to know about, seriously, because I, for one, I've really learned a lot. I've learned a whole lot. It's not even up to 2 hours, because aside from the little interruption we had earlier, it's not even up to an hour. But what I've learned is interesting. It's very, very interesting.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mathilda. Now, let's look at it from the point of view of an archaeologist, which is who you are.
Yeah.
Now, there is a lot that is under our feet that we are not able to see just now. Okay, that actually opened up a buzz in my head now, because depending on where I want to go. Okay, now let me give you an instance. If you look at the official narratives of the people of Esan, I'm originally from Edo State, from the south of Nigeria, from a people called Esan. Esan is about 1.5 million people in Edo State. Now, the official narrative of Esan, the Esan history, is that they started to live in the place that is called Esan today in Edo State, because there was a particular Oba who was having a kind of a stringent rule for these people. Some people started to run away from Edo, from the old Benin Empire. They entered this land. If we extend that time, it's less than 1,000 years of existence in the land of Esan. Now, the Esan land stretches to the river Niger. Okay, I'm saying this, the river Niger, so at least it becomes very easy for you to just get a picture, no? Now, archaeological evidence shows that in the land of Esan, there have been people that have been doing iron work as far back as 3,000 years ago. That is also automatically just saying that the people started to live in Esan land only in less than 1,000 years ago. We start to have issue to deal with that. Now, if you go to North culture, okay, I'm saying Nonk. Nonk is central Nigeria, where artifacts were unearthed, dating back to about 2,000 thereabout years. You see, all these things are hidden behind what we can see every day. I am saying all this to give a kind of celebration to the work that you are doing as an archaeologist, or what you have studied, because now you are working within the area of tourism, but you say you have studied archaeology. Yeah. I am saying that is a very important part of African history if we need to rewrite our history, or at least tell our story. Because telling our story now doesn't start with just Nigeria. Nigeria was, when did we get independent in 1960? That is like yesterday. That is like basically yesterday. We need to go into our history, like the Igbo culture, for example. Talk about the Igbo language. Talk about the Igbo culture. Then we go deeper than that. That is far older than Nigeria. Talk about the Yoruba cosmology. Talk about the names. talk about the tradition, the belief, how we do things. All these evidence are found, usually they will be found in some of the places that we worship, because that is where they keep some of these artifacts. Because in artifact, when you carbon date it, it tells you things that you don't usually see in the day-to-day life. So all this become important for people who want to explore this culture. Now we are talking about people of African descent who want to come to Africa to explore the culture of their ancestors. How do you think they are going to do it? In a book written in Abuja? No, they need to go to places where some of these artifacts have been unearthed, or maybe where some of them are still living, in shrines. I know when you say shrine, and people say, oh, is it not devil that is there in the shrine? No, it is not devil. It is your ancestors that are there. If you say your ancestors are devil, where, okay, I have nothing to, I don't know what I can say to you. So you are a child of the devil. You believe that, okay, you have been washed clean by a European blood, the blood of Jesus. I think we need to deal with this issue that we are good people, but our people, those who we came from, are bad people. That is cognitive dissonance. We are not saying what we do. We are not saying who we are. We are saying one thing, we are doing something else. So I think we need to be able to be consistent and also be intentional in telling these stories. Some of it is done in the open. Some of them we need to go to the mountain. Sometimes we need to go to the valley. So that we need to travel far to collect this information to retell our story. Because our story didn't start yesterday. It didn't start in the 1800s, where some group of European mafia sat down and split out Africa into what we have today as Nigeria, Ghana. No, that is not where our story started from. It didn't start in slavery. It didn't start in the colonial era. We have been here before there was anybody in Europe. So the question I want to ask you, Matilda, is what role do you think that discipline, archaeology, can do in the, let's call it the Nigeria travel industry, for example? Because again, we don't want to know this story just by going to the new road that was built. Can you say anything about that?
Of course. Well, archaeology preserves the tangible past, while tourism gives it voice and value. Let me put it that way. Nigeria has telling destination from Badagry to Ogbomosho to the Nok culture, Oshun Oshobo group. Nigeria has a lot of destination. But the thing is, the mentality we have is people in Nigeria, even people in diaspora, African descent in diaspora, they would rather go to these popular cities like Paris, those popular cities, rather than visit home. Let me put it that way, rather than go back to their roots. So what we do in the industry is we advise that when coming or when planning to take trips or go back home, we advise you engage in the will I call it the authentic tourism experiences. And these authentic tourism experiences are what people call fetish, old, ancient. Currently, I don't know if you heard about it, the current minister, Mrs. Hannatu, Hajia Hannatu, she has successfully joined some delegates in returning about 127 Benin artifacts that have been in the possession of Netherlands. I don't know if you heard about that news. That's like a step forward, because currently what we're trying to do is we don't want to have our history. We don't want to have our history out there in the Western world again. We want to have it here with us in Nigeria. Why do we have to allow others tell our stories? It is our stories. No one should be able to tell it well better than us. You get? So the reason why the tourism industry, although the tourism industry in Nigeria needs a lot of strategic work, it needs a lot of push. It does, but it's one step at a time. One step at a time. Everybody knows you need the tourism aspect to push the archaeological aspect of the country. You really do. Because there are a lot of excavation going on, there are a lot of underground work going on. All these things can only be brought into the light through tourism. When people travel to come and see things for themselves, they come to experience these things for themselves. Tourism makes it possible, travel makes it possible. So both the archaeology and the tourism industry, both of them are they're like a joint force. Here in Nigeria, it's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. A whole lot of work.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. But it's also
Bro, Obehi,
required.
can I say something?
Yeah, please come in.
I just wanted to chime in something. I think just
Okay.
by listening to Matilda speaking, there is this aspect of us on westernizing, on decolonial education as a form of unlearning some of the things that we have learned. And if we are not speaking in that language, if we are not speaking in the language of decoloniality, we are going to be lying to ourselves. We are going to be embracing the cultures of people that are not us. Remember when we were in primary school? I'm not sure whether maybe your school, but we used to when we did fine art, we do Igbo Uku art, non-culture. Those were things that were taught in our curriculum. You see now these curriculums that they are using now, we have to investigate what's going on. When our kids don't know about their culture, but rather we want to import the Western education and adopt it. Why should they care about Nigerian tourism industry? Why should they care about what happened to their ancestors in Badagry? Because our education is not embracing it. You see, beyond just talking on these platforms, we have to tap into our consciousness. Like, how do I explain the science of fufu to my child so that this fufu, they eat fufu in the morning and they don't even know what goes on in making fufu? And then you want to be teaching them the science of cheeseburger. We don't really care about cheeseburger. How do you teach them how to make okpa in something that they see on a daily basis in their lives? So when someone from outside is telling them that fufu smells, they will tell them, come on, you don't know what you are talking about, because they know what goes on in making fufu. They understand. See, science is not new to Africa, and science is not new to us. Art, tourism is not new to us. But you see, if you cannot carry ourselves in such a way that we ourselves can embrace our culture, we ourselves can celebrate what we have, our culture will never be preserved. That child does not know what not culture is. We cannot show them what not culture is from the age of 5. We are dressing our kids in agbada, and they're like, no, I want suits, I want trainers. No, we need to, we just got to get to the point where our culture is preserved and conserved. There's a difference between cultural conservation and cultural preservation. But I'll come back to that. Thank
you for that. That is important. That is the intentionality of the entire conversation, which is what we need to do. It's not something to be done at a ceremony, something to be done just one time because it's the day of the event. We need to do it every day. We need to live it as a way of life. Then at that point, it is not difficult again for people to understand. Talking about our children, there is something that we are very proud of, me and my wife, for example. Because here we have had a lot of parents that say, oh, their children, okay, I'm talking of parents in the diaspora, particularly those that are new here, because I've been here since 2004. So I came from Nigeria, so there is nothing you can do with me that would make me forget Nigeria, for example. But by the time that generation go into 4, 5, 6, or even 3, then you start getting fading. Because if you don't pass the culture on very well, the children might not even have any value in trying to practice your culture. You are you and me. I choose my own way of life. So we've heard some people complaining that their children don't eat their food. That when they cook their food, their children don't eat it because they want to eat Italian food, for example. That is what they prefer. So our investigation have shown that when the child start going to school in an early age, you need to maybe make an effort to make sure that this child eat more of your food as a parent in the house. This might be a little delicate, or maybe, but what we did is that we made sure that our son stayed the time and able to eat more in the house than maybe he will spend all the time in the school. And what we discovered at the end of the day is that my son like all the food that we eat. All the food that we eat. Pounded yam is his best food, for example. Egusi, ogbolo, okra is my son's best food. Gari, if I will go and hide Gari in the house because he will eat a lot of Gari, drink it, and used to eat it, because it's the thing that we teach there, it's the thing that he see us eat, so he will eat it. Of course, maybe in the initial stage, he might not maybe like a particular part, but at the point, he will come to like it. For example, now he doesn't like a lot of fish. So what I see my wife doing these days is that he remove all the little bones that are inside and he put it inside the food, and my son come to like it also. So I am saying that I think we need to make a concerted effort, a deliberate effort to expose our culture to the people. Because if we don't expose the culture to them, they don't know what it is. So they get afraid because they don't know, or they don't just totally ignore it. Why? Because attention is the most expensive thing in our time. If you don't occupy them with something, another thing is going to occupy them. There is no room for neutrality. It is impossible for us to live in a neutral world. If we refuse to export our culture to our children, to our people, they will be exposed to other culture, people that are fighting for the same attention. You have just a limited time to be able to live. In that time, if you don't put something in it, other things will be there. So I think that calls for everybody, every conscious person who believes that our culture is valuable, to expose it to the people. So I really thank you so much for bringing that out, Latifat. Now, I don't know if Reverend Gloria is there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you sharing here. Now, we want to ask you like this. Now, we have looked at different ways to preserve our culture and different ways to also make sure that people understand the importance of connecting to where they are coming from, because that is entirely what we are talking about here.
Mm.
Because by traveling, we are connected to our root, to our origin, to our source. I have a privilege that, that I actually grew up in my village. And I say to people quite often, it's the best thing that have happened to me. In that when I talk about my culture, I'm not talking about it from what I hear people say. I have been there. Let me give you an instance. Okay, these are more, you are mostly female. Okay, I think you see understand the concept. When we are building houses in Esa, okay, not like this anymore because things have changed now, there is always a continuous struggle to eradicate even our culture, no? So when we want to build a house, we have a name for the foundation. We have a name for the one that come after that, because the houses are built with mud, so the community gather together to build the house. So there is an identification of even what we are doing. We have the age grade that are responsible for different type of the work. So that we can entirely look at the house, we have the name for each wall. Because now, when you look at a house, do you have a name for the wall? If you do it with a brick, you don't have different name for it. But when you do it in the traditional way, we have each level, each layer of the building, because each layer is done one day. Because, of course, it's done with mud. You cannot set it to the top. It will collapse, no? So each day the people come around to build, to put a particular layer, one layer, that is a name for that. That helps us also to tell the story, because there are heads of people in that. So looking at it from this perspective, looking at the journey, the travel, from the point of view of ancestral healing, connection, what do you recommend as some of the things that we must do I'm saying we must do, because it cannot happen if we don't do it intentionally. What must we do to recover this history, to connect, and therefore to hold it?
I think there's so many roads to, where we're talking about. There's so many ways, so many paths, and on some level, it isn't a simple do this and this. And just still following on from many of the things that have been said, I have a thought process that I've been holding as we're talking. I think education, 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 education. I hate to bring up the name of the 47th president. I won't call his name, but that repeating something over and over, even though the things he repeats are lies and things. But the more we talk about this, the more we drill it into minds. I've seen, even when I've started doing this work, a lot of people, my ministerial colleagues, recorded. They were, but I see many of them following me now, listening to what I talk about, reading what I write. So something is they're seeing the logic of it, they're seeing the sense of it. You can't deny who you are, and if you do, you will suffer. You will suffer the impact. I mean, when even if we forget, the soil, the rivers, the mountains, they hold the stories of those who've come before us, which again is where travel is so powerful. And I love to talk about when I recently traveled and the impact it had on me. I went to some of these places where the elders were, where the traditions were, the places that 10, 15, if you ask me to go there, I would say, no, it's I just would have thought it was not something I could even consider. But as I've got older, as I've stepped into this work, and I've actually physically been able to make that trip, it it's like a switch was switched on in me. So it was a remembering, because it's already in my DNA. And I think the more the West becomes hostile, the more it tells us we don't belong. You can have their passport, you can have they still have a way of telling you, we don't want you. And on some level, I don't want you either, but I'm here by my right. I have a right to be here. So you can say, even the word alien, who came up with that? That's already, I mean, I've never understood. It's understood. You're already telling people that this person is abnormal. It's a horrific thing. So unfortunately, we as in the diaspora, we have to begin to love who we are. And some of that comes from, again, I say educate, read. We need to read. We need to find info. It's all there. We're living in times where we've been gifted, where we can find any information you want. If you look, yes, there's a lot of rubbish out there, but if you really truly look, and it's research, it's coming up everywhere, which also tells me something about our ancestors are saying, look, we're here. If you want to know about us, we're here. Look for us. And you know, the something in Yoruba tradition, we believe the earth, what we call ile, is alive, sacred, and carries memory. When your feet touch that soil, even if you were born oceans away, something stirs, goosebumps, tears, a feeling of home without explanation. I watch on YouTube all these African Americans who go to Ghana, to look to those spots where the ancestors were transported, and they say when they're in that environment, they feel it in their body. It's undeniable. Sacred memory awakens as we journey. This isn't a nostalgia. It's cellular. It's in our DNA. But you have to raise you have to be open to it. There's so much resistance. I've never seen anything like it. How can you resist yourself? They've done a good job on us, and unfortunately we continue to perpetrate that damage. And this is what this work that we're doing here, it's God's work, because it's saving us and saving our next generation. So I have found, like I said, there's so many different ways, things that you can do. But the first and foremost, those who are listening to these tapes, listening to the podcast, I think it's a very powerful thing, because it's the soul recognizing fragments of itself in the rhythms of the drums, in the taste of food that you talked about, in the language that rolls unfamiliar yet strangely, known on the tongue. My daughters are young adults, and I'm one of the culprits who didn't speak my language to my children when they were young. I regret it. But if I put but recently, my eldest one has been asking. She loves the language when we speak it. We always used to speak it when we didn't want them to hear what we're saying. But she's been asking. She wants to learn. So I signed her up to Yoruba course. And within 6 months, the other day I spoke to her. I said, "Báwo ni iṣẹ́ àlàáfíà?" She said, "Adúpẹ́ ẹ̀ǹlẹ́." I was looking at her. I said, "What?" God is good. So in a short time, and for her, there's a connection she has made, that I'm somebody, I'm special, I've come from somewhere, So we have to do the work. It being intentional. I think somebody said that. And when I speak from a spiritual lens, as I am here, I'm inviting people to travel as a healing tool. It's not easy, but if you're intentional, you can do it. When people want to do something, they make a way to do it. It's a way of reclaiming your fragmented identity. We're living in very dangerous times on so many levels, and our children are at such risk. Oh my goodness, if we truly understood how much at risk our children were, I think we would think differently. Not to talk of us as adults, what we're battling. We have to see it out there. Everybody's gone into their own corners. They're fighting for themselves. But we continue to say we're not good enough. It's somebody else's language, somebody else's culture, somebody else's religion that is the thing that's going to save us. It ain't going to save you. Ain't nobody coming to save you. And we don't even have to go anywhere. We've been given, my goodness, we've been given something innate, something from the divine. That's the thing about we Africans in the diaspora. If we only understood the gifts, the power that we have. Oh my goodness. And that is part of how we got to where we are, because of our kindness, our trust, our openness, our willingness to bring people in. That has all been taken for granted and used to beat us, on our head. We got to understand it now. It's wartime. And I say war, not physically fighting somebody, but the war that's going on within ourselves. We have to, understand that, we can't keep fighting ourselves. Otherwise, we'll perish. And more importantly, the next generation and the next generation, it has to stop. We have to fight this thing. So, weaving the stories of our lineage with pride and power, remembering that your ancestors walked so you could return, even if that return is spiritual, emotional, or symbolic. And I just conclude by saying travel can be the beginning of a homecoming to the land. Yes, but more importantly, to yourself, because the land remembers, the ancestor remembers, and somewhere inside you, so do you. So stop fighting. Stop. If you just sometimes when I talk to my colleagues, I can see them, I can see that understanding, because it's like I'm not telling you something you don't know. This is what your forefathers did. Are you saying, like my brother said, are you saying that they were evil? They are them. I hear you when you pray, you call on your grandmother, you call on your grandfather. Those are your ancestors. So, what are you talking about? Anyway, I'll stop now.
Thank you so much, Ma. This is why we have you here. We are blessed. We are blessed to have you here, and we are grateful also for that. Thank you so much for that. You
Mm,
see, that is true. That you are not telling people what they don't know. They already know this. This is something I'm just reminding you of who you are. It shouldn't be difficult, but you are right also that our competitors have done a good job. There is an important book called, what is the name of this book? The Miseducation of the Negro by, I think, Carnegie Wilson. That is an important book for a lot of people to read because there is a psychological importance there. By the time you succeed to miseducate the person, you tell him that the person is a dog, He will say, I am a dog. That is what education does. They manage to configure your head. When you buy a new computer, you configure it to either respond to A or to B. It will respond to A or to B because that is how it was configured. And our brain sort of function in that way. So we can also reconfigure the system, but it is harder for us, but it is possible. That is why I think by the time you wake up, there is somebody that is really very knowledgeable about African spirituality that I've interviewed more than 5 times. Is from Congo. He would tell me, all hope is not lost. We are just barely out sleeping. He said, when a child cries out in the night because he's having a bad dream, what do? Do you go into the dream to fight the evil that the child is scared of? Or do you simply wake up this child and say, hey, wake up? He said, that is all we need to do. We don't need to enter into the world of this confusion that the people are in. We just need to simply wake them up. And by the time they wake up, they will be able to discover how to free themselves. So it is not going to be easy, but it's the best thing that we can do. So let's keep doing the right thing. Let's keep sowing the seed. For example, look at what we are doing here. Do you know how people can benefit from me? So this is why I say it is good that we are sowing this seed. Perhaps we are not the one that is going to reap all the reward. And we shouldn't be selfish to say, oh, I must reap all the reward. No. You are supposed to understand that you are part of a generation that is very, very long. If they are the one that is going to benefit in it, that is good.
But Obehi,
Yes, come in.
Brother Obehi, I like to chime in something because I would always want to talk. I'm sorry,
Go on,
but
go on.
so some of the things that has been said here is very important, and I'm taking it back to Reverend Tino's, funny enough, my namesake, conversation on just education, and you know we always talk about education as an important component. It's not just because we're telling people to get educated so that they can be able to read and write. That's not the point. The point of um, reiterating the need to be educated is to learn the language of the oppressors. You have to be able to learn the language of these people that have continued to perpetuate systems that will forever be against us. Because if you don't learn their language, they would always exploit you, they will always take advantage of you. So, more recently, in some of these global north countries, we are experiencing where some supposed leaders are threatening to throw people in something called alligator Alcatraz. And you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me heavily. I'm triggered by it just by thinking that a world leader, one of the world leaders, is saying, we're just going to throw them in the ocean and alligators is going to eat them. I know all of this is building around fear mongering and people are just scared of what is going to become of me. Like, you know what I mean? And it reminds me of this little room in Badagry where we call the Barracoon, the 40 the slave cell, the Barracoon. And if you look at the Barracoon is such a small room. That slave cell in Badagry, they put about 40 slaves in the Barracoon. And this is what these ICE raids, these detention centers reminds me heavily of. It feels like history is coming over and over. And the only reason why I know this history is because I'm a girl of the soil. Our culture in Badagry is not lost. I have read it in books. I have been there. I have seen it. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And that's the reason why we have to preserve these our museums. But before we go into the preservation of these our museums, our people are also very self-centered. We have to talk about the betrayal of the African American people towards Africans, the betrayal of Africans towards the African American people, the betrayal of the whites towards Africans, the betrayal of the white towards African Americans, and we keep going on and on because there is this thing that is stopping all of us from working together, where we continue to work against each other. In retrospect, African Americans don't like Africans because they feel your ancestors sold us us, or they sold our ancestors into slavery. I'm not responsible for that. You're not responsible for that. But how do we come together so that we don't let these oppressors win against us? But guess what? They continue to put things that will continue to divide us, that will continue to, incite black on black violence, that will continue to incite. It's just, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I cannot really understand just the mindset of what colonization is doing to our people, and what the residue of colonization will continue to do to us and the generation to come. It's an aberration for any nation, or world leader to inflict pain on people that are breathing. It is just so sad that we are still living in the world where people want to use people to do slavery things, to do things that were associated with slavery long time ago, and you feel that I can do it and nobody is going to check me. It is sad. And ourselves and our leaders, we need to go back to the drawing board to see what we need to do to that continent to grow beyond where we are going to continue to look for resources around all these other parts of the world to save Africa. Africa does not need saving. We need to come back home and get things done the way it's supposed to be done. Thank you.
I just have a quick thing to say to that. Thank you for that, Sister Latifat. Very, very passionate as always. And going on the education thing, education comes on so many levels. And some of the education that is important at this point is about finding out about the history of all those things that you just said, because a lot of people don't understand. We've been fed so many lies, and the lies are now, being escalated because they don't want us to come out of our fog. Because people, there is a movement. People are beginning to move. People are getting, so part of the education that I, sort of talk about is on the level of go and read, find your histories, find out, things that they tell you, look up the actual truth of that thing. And a lot of people, when they find out, they're shocked because that's not what they were told. That's not what they were made to believe, and that's so important because, we've been our minds have been literally destroyed, and they are working overtime. The harmful people are working. It's what they say about no rest for the wicked, because they know that if they stop, we are, no matter what they do, the truth will come. We're going to get where we're going to get to. We can see that already. The movement has started. So they are working even harder. So I think for me, I found that when I read things, I'm like, really? That's what actually happened? It makes me even feel even more committed to what I'm doing. So that was part of one of the things I was saying about education. And then quickly, that thing about the alligator and slaves, that individual is a wicked person because what he's saying is a dog whistle, because that actually happened to slaves. Slaves were thrown into the water where alligators ate their babies. So to actually say that today, what are you trying to do? That's the level of wicked and evil that we're dealing with. It's on another level. So let's not play. But then we also have to know that what we have within us, the medicine that God gave us, so long, let me start talking Yoruba, the medicine that has been given to us as Black people, we need to evoke that. We're not a wicked people. We're a good, kind people. That's who we are as Black people, as Africans in particular. But, we have been so, distracted. And now they're doing even more to distract our children. So we have a lot of work to do. And, somebody said, the thing is so big. What can I do? I said, just a small thing you do, the next person does, it's like a domino effect. That I say something about when you show someone kindness, that kindness has a ripple effect because that person will show somebody else kindness because of how they feel, and that will show somebody else. So when you talk about this, people listen. They will go and find out some more information. Those who want to hear will hear. And those who don't won't. But those of us who have been mandated to do the work that we're doing, we are attracting one another and we're growing. So I know time is against us now because I have to step away. So thank you.
Brother Obehi, I want to go light on what Reverend Tinu just said right now, because this is the importance of having a space and a room like this, where we are not just binded by a number of white-skinned people or colored-skinned people that don't want to give us that space to talk and own our voices. Gone are those days where, somebody wants to do something in Africa, until you see somebody that looks like completely white, and then you'll be like, oh, they're going to sign up when they see Oyibo people. We are no longer looking for that. We don't want the Oyibos to educate us anymore. We don't want the Oyibos to tell us our stories. We don't want to read just the Oyibo books. I want to read books of our own people. But the problem is, our own people don't like to read. And even the ones that like to read don't like to buy. So please, let us continue to talk about this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the energy, and that is truly important. In that we are here essentially for this reason. We are here also to support each other, to continue to encourage one another to go on, because we believe this is important, and we are doing it. We are getting the satisfaction also from it. That is really very powerful. All right, so we are at the concluding end of it. Anyway, we see that Dr. Bansia coming back again. Welcome back. All right, so let's start with Chidima. So what is going to be your final thought here? What is your recommendation? Looking at it from the point of view of an archaeologist and also as somebody who is working in the tourism industry, what do you say as your final thought here?
We Africans need to support Africans. Let me just put it that way, because no matter the amount of work or energy we put in, if our own is not standing and supporting the movement, it's more or less like we are doing nothing. Currently, we have archaeologists, home-based archaeologists, but they prefer to do more of the Western work. Like, they prefer to do more of the Western research. You see somebody doing a research on the Black American movement, migration in Africa, and works like that don't get the publicity it needs. Let me put it that way. But when somebody is writing something on Western Paleolithic and the rest, you see it up there, you see it gaining a lot of flowers and accolades. So I think because the archaeologists are like the backbenchers that will help in unraveling most of this history we're talking about. So we need to support our own. Let me leave it at that. We need to support our own.
Thank you so much for that. We really do. We really do need to support each other, because that is the only way we are going to be able to get to places, and that is fundamentally important. So yeah, we have spent the time that we are supposed to spend here in sharing this important information about us and about what we believe in. So I hear Reverend Gloria was saying that she's leaving. I don't know if she's still there. I think she has already left. Okay.
No,
So
I'm here. I'm just about to leave now.
okay. So what is your final thought here, ma? Please go ahead and share with us yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say I offer unique free training on the fundamentals of ancestral healing. So if you're interested, please come to my website, gloriaogumbadejo.com, and you'll also find details of my 3 core programs that I'm offering. Looking at many of the things that we've talked about now, and some of the ways that we can help ourselves. We can learn about the things to do to enhance our understanding and knowledge about ancestral work. I can be found on LinkedIn. And as I said earlier, I support diaspora communities, especially women, to heal generational trauma, reconnect with ancestral wisdom, and to live with purpose. So my work blends indigenous knowledge systems, storytelling, and transpersonal psychology to inspire transformation in individuals and communities. And through this approach, I help people remember who they are, reclaim what was lost, and reimagine what is possible spiritually, culturally, divinely, and creatively. Thank you all, my sisters and Brother Obehi.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate you for that, and of course, we encourage all those that are listening to check out Reverend Tino's work. She's really an important. Of course, you can see it from her heart that she's really ready to be able to help you. So reach out to her, and you will be able to get the help that she can offer to you. You see, when we have people of certain age who have lived, because they talk from their experiences, it's important that we pay attention to them and take advice also from them. So that is the blessing that we have been able to have Reverend Gloria around with us. All right, so Latifat, what is your final thought here? And please tell also the people what they can benefit from you connecting with you. Please go ahead.
My final thought here is that, like everyone has said today, there's a lot of work to be done. And myself, I use stories as a way of liberation. So if you're looking for liberatory tools, you can always, reach out to me. I try to also focus on the colonial education. And the reason to focus on the colonial education is a lot of the things from the West has not helped our kids. As a matter of fact, it has caused more problems than solutions. So if you are looking for the colonial tools to help your children, or if you are educators, you want to find a way to break down heavy concept into a kind of learning that you feel like people can, you want them to benefit better, please kindly reach out to me. And I write a lot of children books. I've written over 20 children books. So, and if you also want to publish your own books, you can reach out to me. So we can do it on our own. We're not going to wait for all these traditional publishers that are all from the West that have a lot of money. Do it with our little resources and we'll get there. So, like I said, my final thought is to ensure that we all continue to come together to celebrate ourselves. We cannot back down now. We have to, we have to put ourselves together. They say it takes a village, and that village is one that you are seeing here today. And we have to still come back again. We'll see you next time. Okay. Thank you.
We encourage all the people out there who are interested in storytelling, who are interested in the book. She have written over 20 books. So reach out to Latifa, and definitely you can, if it is just a simple question like, how do you do it? How can I do it? That can be good enough. That is why we are here. They are talking not because they just wake up with a dream that they want to stop. No, this is actually what they do. This is what they do. So reach out to Latifat and ask her if you need her help, or why not pay her to do the work for you. That is legitimate. It's good enough that you pay her for the work. All right. So let's go to Dr. Marcia. Dr. Marcia, thank you so much for coming back again. We appreciate that. Listen, we're not taking it for granted at all. So what is your final thought here? And also tell the people how they can benefit from what you do.
I heard the discussion, and I am too of the opinion that there's a lot of work to be done. And as we travel to reclaim our identity and also to embrace our dignity, I also look at how we can broaden our perspective and actually reconnect with our purpose, how we can further our purpose, because understanding where we were and where we now are, and understanding that connection and how we can create that bridge between where we are and where we're operating is very important. And in that light, I am a life purpose coach, and I tend to have persons return to who they are, their core values and themselves, reconnect with those values and embrace that identity that is really a part of their uniqueness and the divine contract that they have when they were created and formed and fashioned by God. And in that effort, in putting, remembering who you are, returning to who you are, reclaiming your identity, and reconnecting to yourself, you begin to align yourself inside. So your soul and your spirit become, your body, mind, and your spirit becomes one. And eventually you rise. So ultimately, that's what I do. I help people to remember who they are, to identify their purpose, and to turn their unique gifts and abilities into a profitable calling that makes them do joyful work and rise. And I can be found on LinkedIn. I can also be sent a DM, and I can be contacting that Dr. TP, motivate me to, at number 2. The motivate me to is number 2 at gmail.com. or they can visit me on my website at drtpmotivate2.com. I also want them to look forward to my newest book that is coming out that's called My Faith Looks Out. And that also allows you to rekindle your hope, your purpose, and your faith as someone that may be losing or may have had that disconnect. It was a pleasure being here today among my erudite co-persons Latifa and our doc and Chidi, let me just call her Chidi. Yes, and with you, Obi. Look forward to speaking again. And I want to say, keep rising. Latifa, keep doing your good work. Doc, keep doing your great work. And Chid, who is feeling that she's launching out, there's your place has been fully cemented, and you must keep doing what you're doing. We all together can make a difference in our own small way. And when each small points come together, it becomes a big splash that makes the change and create impact, change lives, change outcomes, and allow persons to become masters of their own destiny. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sister. We appreciate you. We appreciate the contribution that you have made here today. Okay, you were having a little thing to do, then you came back again. That we really appreciate that. We are not taking that for granted at all. And of course, yeah, this important conversation has really been very powerful today, talking about travel as a way to connect, to reconnect, to reclaim what is actually ours as a people. So we encourage all of you that have listened to this point to reach out to this individual who have spent their time educating you, sharing with you their perspective, a different way to be able to reclaim our heritage, our collective heritage. So reach out to them. Also, make sure you also subscribe to this YouTube channel and share with people who might find value in it. This is why we are here. We are doing our part. But make sure you also do your part. It doesn't cost you anything by subscribing to this channel and making a comment. Ring the bell so that next time a video like this come out, you will be able to get it. So be with us next time again. Every 14 days, we are here talking about issues related to African diaspora. This is African Diaspora Storytelling Series. So we hope to see you next time. Thank you so much.